Arizona State takes down Stanford 68-64 is the final score here tonight at DFA, improving the Sun Devils to 8-1 on the year and 2-0 in Pac-12 play, their first time doing so since 2012. Welcome to the Devil's Digest post-game analysis. My name is Nick Borgia. Alongside me is publisher Hode Urbino. And Hode, I think it's fair to say that many people are surprised by this Arizona State men's basketball team as they've started the year on a pretty high note.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. When you look at the Pac-12 media, I believe they picked them sixth in the preseason poll. So we usually, when you get picked that low, you're not expecting a 2-0 start in conference play. And look, let's be fair. There were many years where ASU actually started on the road, not even 2, but 3 games, with the third one being in Tucson, or the first one being in Tucson. So that probably prevented them in many seasons actually to get out to this 2-0 start. You know, just as a reminder, because the Pac-12 has moved to 20 conference games a few years ago, then they play 2 games pretty early in December. ASU was on the road at Colorado. Very dramatic win over there. The game was pretty a white knuckle game there at the end over here at Desert Financial Arena against Stanford. But nonetheless, ASU really starting the conference play on a great note, 2-0. And like you said, with an 8-1 overall record, with a schedule that I believe was, you know, pretty formidable at some spots. I think this Arizona State team has really proven that they can probably finish higher than their 6+ prediction in the preseason in the Pac-12. Obviously, there's a lot of basketball to play, but I like the fact that ASU is not really starting in a hole like we've seen in some recent years, trying to dig itself out, but it's actually really starting on a strong note, able to win close games, and then the first 2 Pac-12 games were definitely a game where ASU had to grind it out, and definitely give credit to the Sun Devils for able to do that in just a matter of just a few days apart.
All right, so let's talk about tonight. I want to start with this ASU defense. I mean, we talk about the game as a whole. You know, ASU in command for most of the game, had a few stints where there were some turnovers in the second half that might have contributed to the Stanford stat sheet looking a little bit better than it may have showed, you know, on the court. So what was your reaction to this ASU defensive performance? That was pretty solid.
Yeah, this ASU defense, I think coming into the Colorado game, was second in the Pac-12. In points scored, and I don't think it's going to be a whole lot different when the new rankings come out tomorrow. And if you recall, this is a team that towards the end of the season, when they went on a mini run, if you will, ironically losing to this Stanford team in the Pac-12 tournament in the first round, a heartbreaking loss, a game they had in control. But the identity of this ASU team really was its defense, even back then. And even though it's a different cast of characters for the most part, I just feel that the emphasis that Bobby Hurley and his staff are putting on defense, that has not changed, since last year. And he's very fortunate, and I'm sure it's not a fluke, Nick, that he brought players that not only are great scorers, but can really do the job defensively. What I think was also interesting is that in a lot of wins early in the year, ASU was out-rebounded, I would say, on a pretty consistent basis. Here they are playing Stanford. I would say maybe, if not the longest team in the Pac-12, definitely in the top 2 or 3 in that category, and able to rebound them. You know, not by a whole lot. I think the margin was just about 5 or 7, but nonetheless, that was definitely crucial in a game like this. Stanford struggled a lot from the field, especially in the first half. Did only shoot 36% for the game, but I think you should not take for granted that even though the team that you're playing is really missing shots at a pretty high clip, that they're not able to secure the rebounds, especially with the length that Stanford presented. Warren Washington 7 points. 10 rebounds, and it's not only just the rebounds thing, it's the steals. ASU, again, this is just becoming a staple of their team, and each and every contest, absolutely being a menace when it comes to that. You have Desmond Cambridge, who led with 19 points, 5 rebounds, and had 5 steals, on his own. So this team definitely is showing that even when the offense is not really flowing all that well for them, their defense has been consistent and really clicking on a lot of cylinders. Even the most impressive game that they had. Obviously, they win against Michigan by 25. That's a game where their defense absolutely lights out. So I like this maturity process by this Arizona State team. That you think that teams of Bobby Hurley just really want to just boat race their foe, or very very comfortable maybe getting into a shootout. And this is a team that on the one hand is still able to play a pretty high tempo basketball on offense, but on defense they're absolutely grinding. They're really crashing the board. Like I said, steals, blocks maybe weren't a lot tonight, but throughout the season, it's like a block party every time the Sun Devils takes to the court. So I really like the defensive identity that ASU is establishing. This is definitely a huge part, and I would say maybe even a bigger part than their offense in this 8-1 start.
So let's talk about the offense now. You highlighted Desmond Cambridge Jr.'s performance there, as he's been one of the best transfers by far for ASU this season, obviously able to come alive when it matters most. We could talk about that Colorado game all day, making that clutch shot. But he's been a high performer, but a lot of offensive guys as well has really been pushing this team forward and not faltering when they make those turnover strings, midway through the second half.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think first and foremost, we really have to look at the assist. ASU was only 5 assists away, having back-to-back 20 assist games. But obviously, when you have 15 assists, especially when you have 17 turnovers on the other side of the ledger, I think that's huge that Arizona State was really able to run their offense smoothly. Not as consistent as Bobby Hurley would probably want them, but for long periods, it's a definitely offense that does run smoother and just doesn't look disjointed at all. Frankie Collins, ASU's point guard, came back after an illness that caused him to miss the Colorado game. ASU barely squeaked by that game without Frankie Collins, and we saw how important that point guard is. I mean, I know you said Desmond Cambridge is the best transfer, and maybe some people argue that maybe his younger brother Devin is the best transfer. He had 12 points. Warren Washington, I mean, probably may played his best game so far as a Sun Devil. 7 points, 10 rebounds. Was diving for balls, left and right. But when you look at a guy like Frankie Collins, just to have his presence on the floor against a Stanford team that struggled quite a bit on offense until now, but on defense really was giving a lot of fits to their opponents. And really, I think the 3-5 record was more reflective of the tough schedule they played until now, not a team that has just a CVS receipt laundry list of issues to fix. So I think it was really, really huge to have Frankie Collins with it. It was 10 points, 5 assists, really run the show. But you look at ASU; they shot 17% from three-point land. Only made four shots. If I recall back to the game in Colorado, they were shooting pretty much at the same clip too. So again, it goes back to the fact that this defense definitely fuels the offense for Arizona State, and once they run the offense, just a high number of assists. This really shows that the chemistry and cohesiveness, even though literally your entire starting 5, or actually players that came in the portal, I think is a great testament to Bobby Hurley and his staff really picking the right guys. Again, you can look at film and you can be really impressed by dunks and three-point shooting and maybe playing defense, but the fact that they're so cohesive, I think that's something that maybe those Pac-12 experts missed when they made the preseason predictions. I don't know if maybe someone want to adjust them right now, but Arizona State again really I think being fueled by their defense more than their offense. But on offense, I think they are pretty efficient. They're just doing it in different ways and not really the high-flying guard U days just from a few years ago.
Alrighty, so a couple interesting upcoming games coming up for the Sun Devils. First, SMU this Wednesday, and then after that, currently 7th-ranked Creighton. So both games will be on the road. They have kind of a long road trip. What does ASU need to do to kind of ride this wave of momentum that they have to keep the win streak going as they hit the road for a pretty long stint here?
Yeah, SMU, the game's going to be in Dallas. The game against Creighton is actually on a neutral site in Las Vegas, but you're right, it is away from Tempe. And if we're looking ahead, they're actually ending their non-conference slate with a very tough game at the University of San Francisco. So I like the fact that Arizona State has showed that whether it's a true road game like Colorado or a neutral site game like those wins against VCU and Michigan, that it really has played well. And I think that shows the maturity of this team just being more prepared for road contests than they were just a year ago and definitely 2-3 years ago too. So I don't think the road, again, if it's a true road game or just a neutral site game, is not really daunting for for Arizona State, because there's a saying in football, defense travels, and I think that's also very, very true for basketball. If Arizona State really can keep their defensive intensity, if they can keep those numbers pretty consistent and hold teams to under 40% shooting, and just rack up those blocks, win the rebound contest, rack up those steals. I mean, I think it's a team that really can win the majority of the games this year. And again, you don't want to get ahead of yourself. You're only 8-1. There's a lot of basketball to be played, and I think that all those contests that you and I just mentioned, I mean, are definitely a formidable test for Arizona State. But I just feel that the fact they're able to beat VCU and Michigan in back-to-back nights, able to beat a very tough Colorado team in Boulder after they were down 15. I'm not going to say this team is invincible, but this team has definitely shown in this somewhat short basketball season that whatever you throw to them in terms of adversity, in terms of obstacles, more often than not, they're able to overcome it. So I think if you're an ASU fan, you have to be really, really pleased with this basketball team. Again, there's a lot of work to be done. But I think that the start of this basketball team has maybe surprised some folks that were so disappointed in the last two seasons of the Sun Devils. And I think that right now you're just seeing a team that's really playing smart basketball on both ends of the court. If they keep that up, Nick, I mean, I think this can be a very, very special season. And again, this start may be a surprise to some, but I think the folks over there in the locker room, that's exactly what they expected.
Alrighty, Hode. Well, thank you so much for your insight, and as always, for all the coverage surrounding this team. Keep it locked in at DevilsDigest.com. Also drop a follow at Devils Digest on Twitter. For Hode Urbino and the rest of our Devils Digest staff, I'm Nick Borgia, and we thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.